Alright everybody, back again for part 2, still up here on the farm in South Carolina, and just doing some walking with the dogs. So the part 1 went over some of the fears that people may have going out on the trail. I talked about the cold, the snow, water. One of the things I didn't bring up that I was going to do yesterday real quickly was food. Running out of food. You learn very quickly what you're going to need from resupply to resupply, and if you time it right, you walk into town with nothing in your pack but your gear. You eat your breakfast and you go into town, or you eat your lunch and you go into town if you time it perfectly. I did that a few times, but not very often. But food, you're not going to run out of food. And if you get to the point where you're out of food and there's other hikers on the trail, which there always is, somebody will let you eat something. You'll be fine. So going on with fears, the next one is wild animals. You know, everybody talks about bears. My experience, which is from what I understand a rarity, I didn't run into any bears. I might have passed some while I was walking through Pennsylvania and had my eyes stuck down on the rocks I was walking on or whatever, but I didn't run into any. Now, there were times that you learn on the trail from other hikers that there is a bear in the area, or sometimes there's a sign posted that there's an aggressive bear in the area. But the word up and down the trail gossip line gets to you to where you know that this area is got bears in it. A shelter, a tent site or something like that may have gotten a bear coming through it the previous night. And only one time did we run into a shelter that there was an aggressive bear sighting there that we didn't stay at because of that. We just went on a little bit further, and I don't even remember if we pulled out or if we went to a campsite further down. I don't even really remember that. But ironically, that evening, some of the people that we were hiking with stayed at that shelter and ended up having to leave in the middle of the night because the bear did get aggressive and came up to the shelter and wouldn't leave. But if you do run into a bear, do what the ATC recommends. You know, I never even thought about bringing bear spray. Don't be that person that brings a bell. Don't be that guy or girl. I did run into a couple people that were walking with a bell on. But the most effective way, from what I talk to people, how to make a bear go away is pull your phone out. And that nobody ever seems to get a picture of them. So, you know, that's just a joke. But, you know, make yourself large, clap loud, be loud, your trekking poles, whatever, make unwoodsy sounds, and hopefully the bear will go out. I don't really think the bears are there for you, they're there for your food. So I wouldn't be that concerned with bears. The other thing that actually I did run into several times on the trail that could be dangerous is snakes, and really poisonous snakes. Ran into 3 rattlesnakes on one day. So they're there. They're mainly, at least the ones that I saw, were on rocks. They're drying themselves or sunning themselves on rocks. And the ones that I ran into, those rattlesnakes were sleeping, so I just went around them. But they're there. You just got to be careful of them and don't do stupid things. Don't hang your legs over an overhang of rock that you've been told or you've heard that might have snakes in it. I've heard of people getting bit that way. So snakes, you know, you just got to be careful as you would on any hike through any trail. Snakes are out there. You're going to see them, and you know, you just deal with them as they come. Those are the dogs running by. The other animal that really you might have to be concerned with is mice. Mice in the shelter. There are mice in the shelter, not in all shelters, and sometimes they're active, sometimes they're not, and that's just one of those things you're going to have to deal with. Hang your bag. They've got, you know, not bear hangs, but they've got hangs in the shelter that you can hang your bag from that keeps the mice out of your bag. And, you know, you might have a mouse run across your sleeping bag. You know, one of those things happen. So that's just one of those things you got to deal with if you're going to stay in a shelter. I never had a mice in my tent, never had one chew on my tent, never had any of that stuff, but that could possibly happen too. Another thing somebody might fear is getting lost. And that's, they've had hikers die from getting lost. The way that the technology is today, it's hard for me to believe that somebody would get lost to the point where they would be in trouble unless the weather was bad. And there was an incident out there that happened that while I was hiking, that a woman got lost, and she had the Gut Hooks app on her phone. She just didn't know how to use it. So all I can suggest there is if, you follow in the white blazes, so it's not that hard. Now, if it's snowing, the white blazes are a lot harder to follow, But if I would definitely suggest the Gut Hooks app, and it will zero in on the point of where you're at exactly, and it can lead you directly back to the trail if you know how to use it. So if you get it, practice it. It's not that hard to learn. And just use common sense out there. And, you don't really think you're going to get lost. You just don't see that happening. Excuse me. And some people might be concerned of being alone. Or the flip side of that, wanting to be alone and too many people. Well, being alone is not that hard to do if you want to be alone. Now, you're going to get to a shelter. If you stay at a shelter, a campsite, or whatever, there's going to be people there unless you're leaving way early or way late. But there's going to be people there. And, if you want to be alone, just find a stealth site somewhere. There's plenty of stealth sites that you can pitch all up and down the trail pretty much. If you want to be alone, or if you want to be around people, like I said, as long as you don't leave too early or too late. I never went one day where I didn't run into somebody on the trail. There was always people on the trail, whether they're day hiking, section hiking, or whatever. So it's not that big a deal. And the last thing that I wanted to discuss fear-wise was injury. And it happened to me. Injuries can and will happen. It's just part of the deal. And I go back to what I just said about being alone. If you get injured to the point where you're unable to take care of yourself, and you have your cell phone and don't have cell service, then there's going to be somebody coming by, whether it be a hiker or day hiker, section hiker, through hiker, whatever it may be. You're not going to be there alone for very long. Somebody is going to come by, and hikers in the hiker community, they're not going to leave you there. They're not going. A hiker will help another hiker any way he can. That's just the way the community is, and you'll find that out when you get out there. Everybody is all in the same boat and willing to help other people. The trail community is a completely different community than what you're used to, and I can't really explain it. The dogs have decided to go swimming. But I can't really explain it, but you'll find out when you get out there. So hopefully this little two-part series thing helped you, or might help you quell some of your fears that you may have. And if you have some other fears that I didn't discuss, send me a comment and I'll discuss them with you if that's a problem. But like I said in the last video, you guys are getting ready to take the journey of a lifetime, and I am so happy for everybody that's going out there. All the comments that I get on my channel I appreciate and try to respond to all of them. And just looking forward to getting out there. It looks as if Fresh Ground and Hadassah and I are going to hook up probably the 16th or 17th of February, and we're going to be doing some trail magic out in the Springer Mountain, Gooch Gap, Neal's Gap, maybe a little bit further up area. Jimmy, I think, is coming out at that time, Mr. Jimmy, and he's going to be with us, so it's going to be like an old-time reunion, and I'm so looking forward to spending time with all those folks. They're great people. And the other thing I wanted to mention was I was interviewed by Mighty Blue on the Appalachian Trail, who does podcasts. If you're looking for something to listen to on the trail, Mighty Blue has, I think I was number 127, episode 127. He's got 127 podcasts out there. They're about an hour long, and you can download them and listen to them on your phone. And there are stories about the Appalachian Trail, past through hikers. He's a previous through hiker, His real name is Steve Adams. Super nice guy. Did an interview with me for his podcast, which just came out. I'll put the link to it at the bottom of this video when I start to upload it. But you can check that out, and check out his other podcasts. He's interviewed Dixie, several other previous thru hikers from the previous years, and he's a great interviewer, and it's a very great and interesting show. He's written, I think, 2 or 3 books, and his podcast is set up to the point where he interviews a hiker, and then he reads a chapter of his book. So you don't really have to purchase his book. You can just listen to his podcast over a period of time, and he'll read the chapters to you. So can't say enough about Steve Adams, and he is actually going to be out hiking again on the Appalachian Trail. He's going to do it a second time this year, and I'm hoping that I'm going to run into him too, because we're going to be out there around that time, it looks like, because I've got to get back for a grandbaby function that I've got to take the baby shower, and then I will be back out on the trail, and Hadassah and I are probably going to do some actual hiking at that point, and help do some trail magic as trail angels and stuff like that. First part of March. I haven't got a date on that one yet, but we're going to do that also. So happy hiking to everybody, and I'm looking forward to all these hikers starting to hit the trail so I can start watching me some videos and getting out on the trail myself and doing some trail magic. All right, PT out.